Hi, I'm Melissa from SoGoSurvey, and if you've never done an employee pulse survey yet, it might be time to start getting your pulse checked. Let's take a look at this quick start guide and how to get you rolling. One of the most important questions here is how often you check in with your employees. Is it when you see them in the hallway? Is it in a regular meeting, an all-hands conversation? Chances are a pulse check might be exactly what you're looking for to maintain that ongoing conversation. Today, we'll talk about the rationale behind employee pulse surveys, questions to be included, and some best practices, as well as taking a look at possible reports and some advanced options and advice. As I've mentioned already, frequency isn't the only determiner of successful conversations. However, an annual employee engagement survey, good start, but not really more than once a year, or maybe twice at the most. Employee experience obviously changes very quickly. There's a lot of things that happen in sort of the broader world, in people's personal lives, as well as your internal changes in policy, or a certain time of the year is busier, for example. All of these changes can have a huge impact on employee experience, their level of engagement, their productivity, and potentially retention as well. Pulse surveys should be quick, short, easy to complete, and easy for you to use the results. That means that you have useful data without inconveniencing your employees. So to get started, a pulse survey, you can see the entire thing on this single page here. Doesn't need an extended introduction. Probably the first time before you've sent it out, you have a conversation with your team. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing. Here's how we're going to use it. A title is probably enough for most of these. The next thing here is a limited question set. Our key piece is going to be the metric question here in a moment, but you can also include a limited set of questions on a specific topic. Here we have a dimension on feedback and recognition. It could be one or two other items as well, but they should all be focused on the same topic. And then here, that single metric question, probably just one in this case. It could be satisfaction, it could be anything like that. That how's it going for you in my example here gives you the opportunity to track consistently across every pulse survey that you run. Open-ended text is great. It's really hard to predict exactly what everyone is going through at every moment. So it gives you an opportunity to give them the chance to share additional sort of general feedback or anything else that's come up recently. Keep in mind, if you do choose to include this open-ended text, it is so important to read the answers. There's nothing worse than telling someone, having your employee say, hey, this is an issue that I'm having, I wish somebody would help me, and then you never read it, and so therefore you can never take action. That really hurts the trust that you have built up, and it decreases their likelihood of course, ever for participating again. And a quick thank you, of course, as well. It's useful sometimes to say if you have additional feedback or anything else like that, where they can direct their comments. So a couple of best practices. Having a standard schedule makes this easy to predict and makes it easy for participants to understand what's going on when they'll have their next chance. Some organizations do this once a month, weekly. Some have when you log in each day, here's how are you feeling today, a happiness type question or satisfaction. But think about what is the most relevant one for you. So for example, right now, while I'm recording this, we're doing work from home during quarantine. So we have a weekly pulse check, and that's very useful because there's a lot of things happening in the world, in sort of the big world, and people's individual lives as well. So we want to keep track of everybody and make sure that everyone's still in the same loop, no matter where we are. Broader context is really important, and the items that you'd like to measure, of course, but really thinking about how can you consistently continue that conversation. Remember that, as with every employee survey, we really want people to understand why we're doing this, how is this going to be helpful, what they're going to, what the benefits are going to be for them and for you. A metric question, as I already said, satisfaction, ENPS. Mine is, how's it going for you? In this case, just stick with it. Something that you are going to be able to track consistently. It's clear and useful across all participation groups. And this is the only one. If you set anything as mandatory, this is the only one that should be set as mandatory because it's your key measurement across time. You may choose for your topics. You saw in my example, I have feedback and recognition. That is a dimension. That is a set of questions from our engagement study as well. You can, of course, if you have them going frequently like we do right now, on a weekly basis, balance more serious topics, more lighthearted topics and questions across your survey. One week we collected people's work from home playlist, or asked people to weigh in on the important topic of coffee versus tea, and even collected photos of mug shots, for example. So that was a really fun way. It doesn't always have to be serious. You're always including that metric question, but you have an opportunity to balance. Again, review those results, track trends, and do something about it. Whether you're using those engagement dimensions to compare with your last engagement project, or whether you're doing just something fun in an internal newsletter or website, that's fine. Just use what you've learned, take action, and let people know. You can share those results. We do share our results for internal employee pulse surveys with our team here, because it's important to know that transparency. And of course, we practice what we preach. When you take a look at the results, of course, it's going to vary based on the kinds of conversations that you have. Here's an example based on that feedback and recognition dimension. Nice looking overall weighted score. How's it going for you is my key metric question. The mean I can see overall, 3.72. I can break it down by a data table if I prefer. And always those open-ended responses. So here I can see it as a word cloud. I could have just the simple text itself, or I could even run it through a text analysis report. When you get into more advanced options, consider how important it is for you to be able to track who said what. Ideally, anonymous surveys are great because we know that we're sending them out to the specific people in our organization, so no one else is participating, and there's a single-use link for everyone. However, we know that that can be tricky. People can have the feeling, your employees might have the feeling, oh, this isn't anonymous, you're tracking me. So really have that conversation with your team. What's the best use? If you absolutely need some sort of information, like you have 3 different offices and you want to really make sure how you're tracking and improving experience across all 3, maybe there's one single question that you have included about location or demographic, for example. So something to keep in mind, you want your results to be as actionable as possible without your participants, without your employees feeling targeted or singled out. When you have an employee engagement, employee experience program, it's going to balance that deep conversation with employee engagement and also those ongoing quick conversations for pulse surveys. So keep in mind there is a balance between those two, and so one is not better than the other. They're just 2 different sides of the same coin. Another best practice, something to think about in your advanced options, is take a look at trend analysis over time, across departments, across people who are managers versus not managers. Again, keep in mind, what are you going to be tracking? What demographic or breakdown details do you need? If you decide not to do anything, of course, you can just have those overall scores as well. So the dimensional analysis report is a really great one for this as well, for that over time comparison. You might also get really into it and set up an automated flow. You can do this with SoGoEX. There's a link there for you if you want to learn more about that one. Integrating your employee directory along with an automated flow that sets those things up so you can, I won't say set it and forget it, because we really want to make sure that we're all following up with that data, checking out the results as they come in, and being able to take action. So if you can't keep up with your employees, they're unlikely to stick around, unfortunately, too. So do keep that in mind. EX, employee experience, is not just a nice to have, it is absolutely critical. If you lose the engagement, you lose the trust of your employees, your business, your organization will suffer, no matter what your industry is. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to drop us a note here, give us a call. Really hope that you've enjoyed this session. I love learning about how people are using employee pulse surveys. So please feel free to reach out if there's anything that you'd like to talk about. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.